All right, g'day, g'day. Welcome back to Collectivitis, the podcast where we dissect the disease that is collectivism. My name's Pietro. This is Floyd. How you doing, Floyd?
I am well, mate. It's getting into summer, so yeah, good vibes. How about yourself?
Yeah, pretty good. Do you get hay fever?
No, I don't, luckily.
Just gay fever for you then.
Yeah, I know. It's all them. Yeah,
All
yeah.
them gays.
Swell. Well, let's just put them as swirling sausages. It's all in my head.
See, I'm
That's what the
so
therapist tells me, anyway.
I'm so straight that I'm actually allergic to flowers because I get hay fever pretty
Oh,
badly. So,
okay.
all those, floral, gay, kind of
Yeah,
feminine
yeah.
stuff. No, I'm allergic to it. I'm literally allergic to it.
That's just.
Yeah.
I think they call that. I think they call that. The Chad symptoms.
Either that or overcompensating, depending on who you asked. All right. Anyway, we are here to talk politics. And I mean, I don't know. I was thinking that like since Trump got elected, things would maybe simmer down, but certainly hasn't happened yet.
Hmm.
Especially not with the kind of rise of stuff happening here in Australia. Um, we have not simmered down at all. In fact, it's looking like it's heating up as the weather heats up right before Christmas and potentially
Hmm.
after it. And then we're basically there. We're basically into our federal election, which, as much as we get excited about the US one, the one here is probably more important for us, especially if we hope that some libertarian gets elected here or there. Maybe following from the couple of libertarian successes that have happened around Trump, we're hoping something similar might happen here. Um, but something very not libertarian, which has been all the rage this week, is in federal parliament, the Labor Party has been trying to finally push through the MAD bill, as it's being called, the Misinformation and Disinformation bill. And we've talked about it a bunch of times. There's a bunch of things wrong with it. Go check out our previous episodes. We broke it down with Jordan Ditloff, who is the Libertarian Party lead Senate candidate. And
Putting
he's
the
been
link
doing,
right in the banner, right there. You should see it.
yeah, unless I forget to do that, in which case you can just click on previous episodes and go and find it. But he's doing an awful lot of activism on that stuff, which is great. And just this week, we've had some relatively good news on that front. Have you been following this saga, Floyd?
I've seen what's been happening on Twitter. I think it's hilarious that I don't really pay attention to Australian politics, but yet Twitter's been bombarding me with all the stuff about the Mad Bill. But I think what's happened is I don't know if they've either got in Senate, they've got one they can pass the no, or it's going to be tied. It's one or the other, right?
Yeah, well, at the moment, it depends. Okay, so the kind of the lay of the land, as far as I understand it, is this. Labor Party obviously is going to support it, but they've only got 25 of the 38 votes needed. So 76 people in the Senate. It's already passed the lower house because obviously a Labor government means Labor has majority in the lower house. Therefore, there it's already been shoved through. There was never any other outcome going to happen there. But the Senate is Labor does not have a majority, so they need to make deals and stuff and try to convince independents or other parties to vote with them. They've got 25 votes. The Liberals and the Nationals together have 30. The Greens have 11. And then there's a whole host of One Nation, United Australia Party with Babbitt. I don't know. Is that the new Kamala? I don't know. I don't know how to say his name. Um,
I'm not
then you've got
commenting on that.
then you got Jackie Lambie, and then you've got a few other independents, Pocock, Payman, who is the ex-Labor uh, chick. I think her big thing is that she supported Palestine and criticized the Albanese government, so she
Mhm.
split from Labor and she's become her own independent, even though she would have
Now
never
the
got elected.
the middle finger until May.
Yeah,
Yeah.
essentially, yeah, because she'll never get reelected. She's got no hope of
Yeah.
getting reelected, especially to the Senate. But till then, she's a vote against Labor. Anyway, so the question was, would they get to 38 with all of those? The Greens, noticeably did not vote with Labor in the lower house. They abstained. They didn't vote against it. They abstained.
Mhm.
And so the question was like, would the Greens rediscover their notion of free speech and their support of, some sort of individual freedom, which in theory they're supposed to be, that's supposed to be their whole thing. Would they rediscover that in time for this? And if the Greens voted against Labor, it was never going to pass. But the Greens sort of have been, I won't say umming and ahhing. I'm sure they've got their plans and strategies, and they're trying to leverage this for some other fucking thing later.
Yeah. Free
But they haven't.
housing.
Yeah, like that's the
Yeah.
thing. They'll try to
Yeah.
leverage it for some other fucking bullshit greeny idea that Labor currently doesn't want to do. But what's ended up happening is that while the Greens have delayed enough of the independents, and because then there's, as I said, the 2-1 nation, and there's enough of the independents and minor parties have come out and said that they won't support the bill in its current form. So especially the three kind of ones who were going to go either way were Payman, Pocock, and Lambie have all come out and said that they won't support the bill in its current form. So it seems for the moment the bill won't pass at least prior to Parliament's final sitting week before Christmas, and then it'll have to be after Christmas if it were to be reintroduced. And then it's getting awfully close to an election. Does Labor want to risk a failure this close to the election? So this might get shoved under the radar. It looks like for the moment, if not defeated, the Mad Bill has at least been put on hold. But there are some massive caveats to that. First of all, obviously, as you said, the numbers right now are squeaking a draw rather than it passing. If just one of those three independents or anyone else gets convinced to flip and the Greens then go with Labor, this will pass. And I don't know if you remember the pandemic legislation back in 2022 when everyone was marching, or late 2020.
Yes, no, I was going to bring that up. That just triggers me a lot, Mr. Dickhead Transport Party.
Yeah, Rod Barton,
Yeah.
fucking fuck
Yeah.
Rod Barton.
Yeah.
Where essentially it was the same situation, which obviously happens from time to time when the numbers are so tight and it's down to one senator, some bullshit fucking independent piece of shit who can be bribed, and they fucking give him whatever the fuck he wants. And we remember Rod Barton had barely squeaked in. Even he wasn't even meant to be there. He'd gotten there through the fucking preference flows and the Glenn Drury system for everyone who
And now you're triggering people, Pietro. Instant dislikes right now.
Anyway, fuck Rod Barton.
I'm sorry. I hate to go back to the past. I always wondered, what did they give him for his agreements? Because I didn't see anything that really would have benefited taxi drivers or anything.
Yeah, I don't know what they gave him. Yeah. I don't know if it was just like some job afterwards or if it was some, I don't know, new fucking car or something. I don't know. Whatever his price, I'm sure his price wasn't that fucking high. The guy was fucking fat beyond belief. It was probably a fucking HSP is what they gave him. Anyway, the point was not to rag on Rod Barton.
Mad Bill, cray.
Never, yeah. So anyway, the point being that unfortunately, these are all politicians, the people who we are putting in who we're putting our faith into to preserving our rights. And politicians can be bribed and are corrupt and can be, if you offer Jackie Lambie a brand new fucking stadium in Tasmania, that might be enough to flip her vote or something, shit like that. So there's always that risk. So the current balance of things is not safe. I wouldn't say it's not cause for celebration yet. It's cause for some relief. Certainly, it's in the right direction. The fact that these three have come out. I also think it's important to note that these three have come out against the Mad Bill because of the overwhelming community response they've gotten. Like there has been this, and spearheaded by the Libertarian Party, you've got to say, as well as a few like One Nation and some of the big free speech independents.
And UAP's trying to get I think this is UAP trying to get their comeback for the election if they register or not. Because all of a sudden, UAP, fuck, where have you guys been for the last 3.5 years?
Yeah, well, it's just been Ralph Babbitt's drunk tweets.
But supposedly, allegedly drunk tweets.
I mean, he's been wild lately. I don't know if anyone's followed his Twitter. Anyway, Ralph Babbitt, open invite if he ever wants to come onto the show and explain his tweets. That'd be an interesting conversation.
Yeah. We'll even have a drink with you, mate.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he'll
or
already,
2.
or 10,
or 3.
or 20.
We'll pay the drinking competition on the show.
Anyway, I was making a point. The point was that the reason that these three senators flipped was largely due to the community response they received. There's been this big push to, phone calls and emails and I mean, I guess it's phone calls and emails. It's not going to be much else. Petitions, that kind of stuff. Push to try and convince them that, hey, the community doesn't want this. Everyone's against the Mad Bill, and people have mobilized once again. The free speech crowd has mobilized once again, as they have to every time. This will keep resurfacing, which is going to be tedious and tiring and exhausting, but we have to mobilize every time. And again, it seems to have worked, because the response has been enough that they've thought, okay, well, shit, let's get ahead of this. Um, and an important thing to note is that with things like this, there is not much political capital to be gained from being the last person to go against the bill. It's like if the Greens come out now against the bill, it's kind of like who cares? You don't win
Yeah,
favor or points either way.
yeah,
But to be the first, so all three of these have jumped ahead of it to try and gain some political favor because there is
yeah.
such a big community response. In saying that, I don't think we should stop pestering the others that haven't
Mm,
committed yet. Importantly, there is Lydia Thorpe, which many people have their concerns and criticisms of.
mm,
But she could be convinced that the Mad Bill would be used to suppress minority speech or something. I don't know. Who knows? But she is another one who has yet to commit one way or another on this vote.
yeah.
So, um, anyway, that's kind of the lay of the land. It's still all in the balance, but the current signs are positive that the senators who could stop this thing have made moves to stop it. Um, any thoughts thus far? And then I got one last thing to say on the Mad Bill.
Yeah, I just think not necessarily in regards to the political side of it, but I have noticed this has been something just like, COVID and stuff. It all kind of crops up over the world, especially after Trump. A lot of the Democrats and the more weird people over there are saying, well, this is all Trump got elected because of misinformation and disinformation. We need something for this. I'm like, wow, this is kind of people are talking about this all at the same time. What a strange thing to bring up all at the same time. But yeah, I think this isn't something that's going to go away. I wouldn't be surprised, say the Liberals get back in, they'll want to do it because for some reason this has been an agenda that's just being pushed, which, yeah, mad, cray cray. It's just crazy.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Great, great name for a bill.
it is great, and it was someone in the Libertarian Party, now party, that originally coined it, and now that's what it's getting called, like in
Huh?
the news and stuff.
Okay.
I don't know about the news specifically, but I know that's the colloquial term. It's been adopted. So whoever came up with that,
Yeah.
um, I'm sorry, I don't know who it was. We can credit it to somebody. We'll credit it later
Yeah.
when we find out. But I know
Yeah.
it is someone within the party that came up with it.
Well,
But it
give us
was the Liberals.
send us a message if you know if it's you, and we'll shout
If
you
you
out, or we won't
claim, yeah,
shout you out.
if you know who it was, yeah, or if you claim to have come up with the term, let us know and we'll give you a shout out next time. Um, but it was the Liberals who initially proposed it. The
Yeah.
Liberals who were the ones
Yeah.
who under Morrison, it was originally his bill. So that it may come back in some other form. The other thing I was going to say was that the worrying part of all three the independent senators who have thus far come out against it, so Payman, Pocock, and Lambie, all three of them say there is in their statements they said while it is a serious threat that misinformation and disinformation can
Mm.
be allowed to perpetuate and etc etc etc, we cannot support the bill in its current form.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? Are they saying if you change a couple of things that they don't like, then they would be willing to support the bill? I mean, if you support that misinformation and disinformation should be arbitered by the government in general, which I mean, we know those words are so tainted and politicized anyway. They're terms that just mean whatever the government or the powers that be decide is not the truth. Regardless of whether it is true or not, as we saw throughout, like all the pandemic and even throughout like the Trump election, this stuff crops up every time there is an inconvenient narrative to the power structures. Um, so, I mean, if they believe that misinformation, disinformation is a threat, would they support this bill given a couple of caveats changed? That's what it suggests. That's what their
Yeah.
statement
Yeah.
suggests.
Yeah.
It's not a blanket no. It's not a fuck off. Free speech is more important here,
Yeah.
which is what all the other free speech advocates are pushing for. It is kind of a hey, maybe we think about it. Give us a new car or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Give me a
Yeah.
HSP.
Yeah.
Um,
Give me a HSP with extra meat
yeah, Rod Barton had
and
plenty of
four
meat,
sauces. You know.
plenty of extra meat on. Yeah. So four sauce. That last sauce was what got Rod Barton
Yeah.
over the line.
Yeah.
Um,
Weird fucker likes mustard. You know. But hey, that's could be misinformation. So could get in jail for that soon.
well, let's start some misinformation. Rod Barton has mustard on his HSPs. What are the other? So I mean, the other sauces obviously garlic, sweet chili, and
No, fuck
what's the other
garlic,
one?
normal chili, and barbecue.
And barbecue. That's it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Normal chili, no sweet
normal
chili.
chili. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know where you get your HSPs from, mate, but
Sweet chili is okay. I've definitely had it with sweet chili as
okay.
well. Mustard would probably be all right. To be honest, mustard would probably.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sorry, Rod Barton. I apologize for everything. Your mustard HSP actually sounds pretty good. Um. Anyway, onto also in the federal scope of things. So interestingly, the bill started being discussed as Trump is elected. So as Trump is elected, everyone's distracted. Suddenly, the bill's been tabled and it's being talked about. The other thing that's being pushed through under the blanket of the Trump news spectacle that has distracted everyone is the fact that Albanese has gone on with the social media ban for people under the age of 16. This one is not going to be blocked. There's no hope of blocking it because it has bipartisan support. Dutton, in fact, actually is even more hardline on the social media ban
Mm,
than Albanese was. We talked about it earlier in the year, and it was Dutton who was coming out stronger for it. They were kind of competing over who could be more in favor of getting kids off social media. So, um, that's the other thing and that's going to pass this coming week. So it's not all rainbows and sunshine, as it very rarely is rainbows and sunshine at all. They are going to be kicking anyone who is under 16 off the main social media until they can find a workaround. Thoughts on that?
yeah, I think this is such a boomer response to a problem. It's so outdated, and it just shows how out of touch both Liberal and Labor are, especially Dutton. I think anyone under the age of 40 would know, would have experienced social media at least in their teenage years. I understand people think it's a problem, but there's ways around this. I mean, everyone lies about their age on the internet, number one. And yeah, it just seems like these people are so out of touch with. I mean, I understand people might think it's a problem, but what I think as well, because it's such a boomer problem, this is not to appeal to younger people. This is to appeal to the grandparents and the older people. Hey, we're doing something, as opposed to, hey, parents, hey, young people, here's a practical solution for a problem. It's just, hey, let's give one to the oldies so they'll vote for us.
Yeah, for sure. And what even is the problem? Like the problem is some vague thing about like mental health issues among
Yeah.
kids because they're on social media. And I know that on this that like the research, if you look into this, like the research and stuff on it is tenuous at best. Like there's no
Mm-hmm.
overwhelming confirmation that it's social media that is causing this. Like you can just make that statement, but it doesn't make it true. There's
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
real correlation between, I don't know, how much a kid is using social media or whether a kid is using social media. Like, how do you even conduct that experiment anymore? All the kids are on social media,
Mm. Yeah.
and mental health problems among kids and teenagers has occurred way before social media.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you're right. It's complete boomer detached from reality.
Mm.
Um, hard, ham-fisted attempts at controlling, but also, if you look at it the more insidious sense.
Mm.
Okay, well, what does that mean? If you want to use social media now, you have to prove that you are 16 or older. So what does that mean? ID tied to
Yeah,
every
yeah,
social media account? Because that's not just going to be for kids. Like, obviously, the people who are going to have to submit their ID is everyone else. So, what it now is your ID always tied to a social media account? Like, removing any sort of anonymity online? Does every social media account, company, platform need to abide by this? Like, will I need to provide some social media, some ID to prove my X account, to prove my, whatever the fuck else? It would appear that this is the case. Now, I'm sure there's going to be workarounds, and hopefully there are, and hopefully we can discover them and share them anonymously somehow online. But it does seem like it's the usual under the guise of some problem being solved, they are centralizing more control and more
yeah.
information on which they previously didn't have.
Well, what this is going to do, I think, is two things. It's going to make them ultimately, if you want a young social media group, you probably go to Tor for that, into the big wide scape that is Tor, and a bunch of weird people. Oh, there's a bunch of young people on social media. I'm going to Tor. I'm going to jump onto that, just to be really pessimistic about it. But yeah, it's just going to push things underground. And I think what they're trying to do as well is stop the social media companies and try and ban the social media companies, thinking that Australia has any type of influence on these huge companies that, dare I say, have more power than Australia, more money than Australia. And they're just going to be like, all right, screw you, Australia. We're not going to submit to this threat, because it probably is just an empty threat at the end of the day, unless they do put something like verified ID on. But then the social media companies have to agree to that.
Well, and that's kind of what I don't know if this has already been decided, but it seems to me like this is a massive loophole in it. Is that obviously, yes, so these companies, let's say Facebook, Instagram, those would be the main ones that are subjected to this, because those are the accounts that kids have, probably more Instagram and than Facebook nowadays. But these are massive global companies. I
Mm,
mean, in fact, those two are both under Meta. They're both the same company. But so what does it mean? Does it mean that they will then modify their platform in Australia alone to make it so that you need to provide ID to prove that you're over 16? Because there's no way in the world they're going to do it everywhere just because
mm,
Australia has legislated.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
ridiculous. It's, the whole Karen trying to control the world
Mm,
thing all over again.
mm,
Um, it's like ridiculous beyond absurdity. So what are they going to do? They're going to make a localized platform for Australia, in which case, what is stopping everyone from just using a VPN and saying they're not in Australia?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And if that is what ends up happening, then that just becomes the norm. And then it's like the bill never did anything. It's just that there'll be probably a whole heap of new jobs created to try and enforce this stupid law, which can't do anything.
mm,
And
yeah.
the expansion of the bureaucratic bullshit once again to solve a problem that is not a problem. Anyway, that's what I see is probably going to happen. The only other thing I saw was I read that the Dutton and the Liberals have said they won't support this um, if there are loopholes, like if there are gaping loopholes, unless it's like watertight, the system. Now, I don't know how they're possibly going to fucking know this before they vote on it, which is going to be this week. And in fact, I don't know how they're going to know that it's watertight before it actually tries to go into effect and then is
Yeah.
proven to be not watertight at all. But that's what they've said. So I guess that's maybe the one way they backtrack out of this is if they see if there's some, expert that's like, this is never going to work, who tells them that.
And like Dutton, I don't know why he's so passionate about this and thinks this is such a winning thing. I mean, if I was the Liberals, I'd be like, no, we need younger people to vote for us. We need people to at least kind of preference us before a Labor, because we're kind of a sinking ship. And this is just the Liberals, I think, putting another hole in that sinking ship.
Yeah, it might be that they're going with it because I mean, you would imagine Liberals have more of the old boomer vote tied up. And
Mm,
so if Albanese pushes this and the Liberals don't, then maybe some of that vote bleeds over to Labour. And so they're forced to go with it as well. Maybe that's the thinking behind
mm.
it. Um,
But let's put it this way: I'm 14 years old, which and my memory is that both Liberal and Labor wanted me to not have social media. That's going to stick with me until I'm 16, 18, whenever I can access social media. That's going to stay with me. And if it's the Liberals that are really passionate about it, well, I'm going to remember it was the Liberals. I'm not going to vote for them because they didn't want me to enjoy the internet.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, I don't even think kids. I mean, obviously, I work with my job is working with probably
Mm-hmm.
the exact age demographics who are going to be most affected by this.
Yeah.
And I can't see them thinking that far. I see them thinking, oh,
Mm-hmm.
this is bullshit. How do I work around this? Oh, we're all using
Mm-hmm.
VPNs. Okay, sweet. We'll use a VPN. And now it's a bit more fun to be on social media because it's illegal. It's like the fact that
Yeah. Yeah.
they
Yeah. Yeah.
enjoy drinking more at 16 than they
Yeah.
do at 18 because at 18 suddenly no one gives a fuck, whereas at 16 there's the whole sneaking around and
Yeah.
doing it, the subversion and against the law element of it. I think
Yeah.
that'll, if anything, that's what happens. You're actually making social media more fun for the
Yeah.
kids by
Yeah. Yeah.
making
Yeah.
it illegal for them.
And it's
Um,
just going to cause to go down the deeper alleyways of the internet, because it's not going to. It's, oh wow, I've done something bad on the internet. Let me look at something else bad on the internet. Let me, kind of that big circle. Next thing you know, they're bloody terrorists,
you're gonna
or
ban
or they're anarchists. So maybe it is a good thing in the end.
you're gonna ban me from social media. That's it. I'm going on the dark web. I'm buying a gun right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna print one. It will be fine.
I'm printing a gun. Yeah, bet you didn't think about that, Liberal and Labor.
Yeah,
Fucking
yeah.
idiots. Anyway, bring back 3D guns. Um, there was
They never went away, mate.
someone should ban them. Honestly, that's
Oh yeah, they should
ban them
ban it.
again.
They should
If they're
ban.
already
I reckon they
banned,
should ban. I see drugs on the street. They should ban those as well. I mean, I
they should.
just can't. I don't understand why they allow drugs and don't do like
You know, you
laws
know,
against it.
you know what we should ban? Like, how has nobody thought of this before? We should ban murder. Like, there's murder happening and nobody
I
likes it. Who
know
likes murder? Why don't we
people
ban it?
die and no one does anything about it. Like,
Seriously, like, we're worrying about social media. Ban the murder.
yeah,
Government, wake
yeah,
up. Ban
yeah.
murder. Now that's a campaign slogan I can get behind. Um, no, but of course they're only interested in perpetuating murder, such as the billions of dollars of aid that we've given to Ukraine
Mm,
to send Ukrainians to the meat grinder against Russia. Perfect.
mm,
Yes, let's
yeah.
support that. Um, anyway, the last thing I wanted to talk about today is we're going to switch countries, but usually we go, US if we switch countries. Sometimes we look at Europe. We're actually going to talk about our cousins to the east. I had to think about that for a second. Yep, to the east,
Mm,
the
mm,
New Zealanders, where there is, I mean, the Libertarian Party in New Zealand is called ACT, and they're mostly libertarian. I think there's a little bit of a broader church than just libertarian in there, but they're very very good. And they've got about 8 seats, I think, and they've combined to form majority government. We talked about it they had their election around the same time as Javier Milei got in, and they gained some serious power and a serious seat at the table. And recently, and many of you may have already seen this clip. I'm going to play it in a second. The Te Maori Party, which is like their indigenous party. It's like the equivalent of if there was a whole party of Lydia Thorpe here in Australia. It's
mm,
like a whole party where the whole purpose for voting them in is indigenous identity. And obviously the indigenous peoples there are the Maori. And pushing for, white privilege and white man and give us back our stolen land and all this shit, right? And they perform. So they had this ancient treaty, which has been enacted since like has been interpreted since like the 1800s, and it was a treaty between the Maoris and the British Crown. And over time, as with like any of these treaties, it gets interpreted to mean more and more rights and privileges to usually the indigenous peoples, right? It gets over time, people reinterpret it in different ways and say, oh, this means that now we all have to give them free land, houses, education, whatever. And it's gotten to a point where the Maoris have a significantly privilege, have a significant privilege for identifying with that racial group than everyone else, which is unjust, obviously, if we're talking about taxpayer money, especially. And so ACT and David Seymour, the head of ACT, he has rewritten the bill to reinterpret it in a way that takes out this privileged treatment, and proposed this bill to their parliament. Um, Now, it's very controversial, and from what I've read, it probably is never going to go through anyway because there's not the bravery among the other parties there to go against this massive block of the Maori party, which is fairly big there. But the Te Maori response to this bill is something to behold. So without further ado, I'm just going to show you, and please enjoy this. Oh my God. Oh, I'm sorry. That is the most fucking retarded thing I've ever seen.
Oh,
Holy shit.
why is it that parliaments
Oh my
all
God.
over the world are so dramatic? Like, in what was in
Oh,
Taiwan, they were throwing fish. In Europe, they go
fucking hell.
crazy. In New Zealand, they go crazy. But yet in Australia, they just stay so fucking meek.
Man,
You know,
that is. I'm, I
I want to
way
see more of
prefer.
this. No,
I
I'm,
way
I'm
prefer Meek to that. What is.
no,
What was
I'm a fan.
that?
I'm a fan. I love that. That was
How do
great.
you look at yourself in the mirror after pulling that shit? Like, fuck. And so the guy they zoom in to is David Seymour, the guy who's looking like, am I surrounded
With
by?
the red tie.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The
Yeah,
one,
yeah,
and
yeah.
they're the one who they're aiming all the thing at, the haka or whatever the fuck.
Okay.
And
Not as
it's
good as the All
just,
Blacks, by the way.
oh, it's so cringe. Oh my God. Like,
No, I liked it. I'm a fan. I'm a fan. I like that.
voting
I
Te
like the
Maori now.
I like the dramatics of it. And more so just not for the statement or anything, but just make Parliament entertaining again.
I
I think I'm gonna run now and just make Parliament entertaining again. And I'll use that as my campaign.
as much as I hate like the air of legitimacy and stuff that Parliament gives to politicians who are at their core nothing but thieves. And these are the worst among the thieves, but still, even as much as I hate like the air of respectability and professionalism and authority that gets given to this, I just find that to be so ridiculous. Like it's just so you are fucking children. Like and this whole idea that because like pretending this whole thing that we all do of pretending that like these primitive cultures and their primitive war dances are somehow like insightful and powerful and like something to behold. That wasn't something to behold. That was fucking retarded. I'm sorry, there's no other word for it. That was stupid. It was a fucking Stone Age culture trying to intimidate someone for
Oh.
for taking away rights that they have ahead of everyone else, rights that they have more than other people, and that they gain by stealing money from everyone. They're thieves who are using war dances to try and intimidate someone who's trying to stop their thievery. That's what it is at its core. And it's
So,
just so ridiculous. And
I don't
pretending
know.
that
I don't
it's
know. Maybe that's the difference between you and me. I'm a bit more on the theatrical artsy side. I see the statement of it, and I don't necessarily like it or anything like that. Or it's just like, okay, like game recognizes game almost. But like, I don't know. I like the theatrics and I like the statement. May not necessarily agree with it, but it's just like, yeah, keep doing that. That's cool. I don't
I'm
know.
I'm I'm all
It's
for
just
keep doing that.
me.
That is one of the funniest things I've ever seen because like you've got to think that the whole world is watching this and thinking, "Oh my God, I guess nobody has to take New Zealand seriously ever again at
Well,
anything.
that's
That
what happened
country
after
is a dumpster
Taiwan.
fire."
I can't take Taiwan's parliament seriously after them throwing bloody fish at each other. So,
No, I'm sorry. Throwing fish at each other is way better than that. An actual fight, an actual something like that was, you're right, that was just theatrics. It was just theatrics and it was lame. The biggest crime of that was not that it was the theatrics and the like purely the biggest crime of that was that it was the whole theatrical thing and it was so lame. The chick ripping up the bill and then those faces they pull while they do it, like the biggest crime is that it was lame, right?
with,
Throwing fish at someone and fighting someone in parliament and running in and grabbing the thing and running away like that shit that they do in those parliaments over there. That's sick. I respect that. That's actually fighting, physically fighting for your rights or something. But this shit
well,
I think that's at the core of it is my problem with it is obviously that they're thieves trying to, you know,
okay,
intimidate someone into letting them continue their thievery. It's obviously that, but the bigger crime I think is that it was just so lame.
fair. But you know what that reminded me of though, because they were there, the whole crew didn't get into it, so it's not like all of Parliament against that the ACT party. It kind of like when someone's like, "Hey, let's do this," and then everyone's like, "Yeah, yeah, let's do it," and then only like two people do it. Just like everyone just sits there watching, and it's like, "Yeah, I'm glad I didn't do that."
Well, I think the ones who aren't Maori can't do it. Like I think it's a thing that
Okay,
only Well,
well,
actually, but
yeah,
the New Zealand team does it. The New Zealand rugby team, they all do it, don't they? And they don't have to be all
yeah,
Maori.
but I
So
think
maybe it's
that's
not just a
different. That's
Maori
a
thing.
Yeah, it's kind of like I don't know. There's aren't really Australian customs, so I can't really say. I guess it's like white people doing a smoking ceremony. Do they do that?
I guess you
Yeah,
can. You can be like, I've been allowed this. I mean, who cares? Anyone can do
yeah.
anything. You should. Yes, I can do a smoking ceremony if I want to. I probably don't even get arrested for it. Although who knows? I've never done it. Don't take this as an admission of guilt. Um, anyway, that's
So he says.
yeah. Um, but I mean, I look, I think the Huck is lame in general. I'm sorry, I'm coming out with it. And that was the lamest one I've ever seen. By
That
far.
pretty that was not nowhere near the All Blacks. That's the only time I've really seen it. And yeah, that was they had the energy there. I'm critiquing it now. It's like they had the energy there, but it just wasn't executed well enough. They should have rehearsed it more.
Yeah, definitely
Yeah.
needed more rehearsing.
They should have gotten on the actual like on the floor and done it like in a line. And yeah,
Well, another insight on this whole thing that I have is that
yeah,
you know how, because that's what people are here for. They're for insights, not
yeah, yeah.
just
Of course, of course.
attacking random cultures. Um, you know how like the whole thing with Trump, and we haven't spoken about Trump's new appointments, but we'll probably talk about them at some point next time.
Yeah.
Trump's new appointments, all you can tell which ones are good and which ones are bad by which ones get attacked by which people. Like
Mm.
John Bolton coming out and attacking the Matt Gaetz appointment, and like all the media coming out and calling AOC coming out and calling Tulsi Gabbard a war hawk, tells you that those were good appointments because all these shit, horrible people are coming out and attacking them, right? So take that concept. I think the fact that this ridiculous charade in New Zealand has come out to attack the Libertarian Party and the leader of the Libertarian Party is actually a great thing because it means that whatever the Libertarian Party, the ACT Party, ACT Party are doing over there is good. If you're getting these fucking people to come out and do that shit, then what you're doing must be good. Thoughts?
Oh, Yeah, to each their own, mate. Like,
Anyway, that's I abhor identity politics, and I think that is the absolute pinnacle of it is right there. Is we deserve more rights um because of our identity. Um, that's it. That's all I wanted to talk about for today. Is there any other thoughts you want to leave us with before the end?
um, if you're gonna do something, if you're gonna make a public statement, rehearse it and make sure it's done in an eloquent manner. That's really, when they film the video of it, you can see that everyone's kind of very well organized.
Perfect.
For anyone
Perfect.
out there doing any, what are they called, those events where they all, I saw animal activists in anonymous masks the other day, and I was like, guys, it's the wrong context. You're not really anonymous, and just kept walking. So
Sick. Animals Anonymous. That's
yeah.
um yeah, no, that's right. If you're gonna do theatrics, rehearse it first. That's a lesson we can all take away from that. Um this coming to you from the most clearly unrehearsed podcast of all time, Collectivitis. If you don't already, you can follow us on YouTube, Instagram, X, and Spotify. Um, Thank you so much for watching. Like, share, subscribe if you enjoy. Send it around to all your mates, etc., etc. We will catch you next time.
Take it easy.